Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising.
All right, welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am your host, Misty Rose Gold, and today I have with me Luke McConville. Hi, Luke.
Hey, Misty, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Tuesday afternoon, can't complain. Talking about business, so yeah, things are going great.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited to have you as a guest on the podcast. I know that you have a wealth of knowledge inside of you, so I am super excited to share that with our listeners. Let's tell the listeners a little bit about you. You are a business banker for Ent Credit Union, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And you're also a business owner.
Yes, I am. I flip houses on the side. I own a couple rental properties, and in the past, yeah, I owned a dry cleaning business. So really just love what I do now to be able to share my experiences and knowledge with current business owners to try to tell them what I would and wouldn't do if I were to go back and just
Mhm.
understand their business on a better basis, coming from the business owner's perspective, because I do understand what goes in those shoes every day. It's not all sunshine and daisies.
Right, right. So let's make it easier for the business owners out there, actually, the new ones. I want to talk about business banking for new business owners and what do they need to start a new bank account? What do they need to know about that process? So, what is the first thing that you would share with the listeners who are thinking about starting a new business or they've started it and they don't have a bank account yet dedicated for their business? Where do they start?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just long story short, it's so important to have a separate personal bank account and a separate business account, right? Because as a business owner, you need to understand your financials. That's the biggest thing that business owners fail to do is understand where their money's going, where their money's coming in, and they try to commingle it with their personal expenses, and that's just setting themselves up for disaster, right? You need to know what you're spending your money on, if that's going to rent, if that's going to payroll, if you're purchasing materials, paying your vendors, suppliers, utilities, whatever the case may be, you need to know where every penny of your dollars are going each and every month. Um, the really the only two ways to make more profits in business is either to grow revenues or to cut expenses, right? And so if you're cutting
Mhm.
expenses, but you don't know where your expenses are going, that's going to be pretty tricky to do. So it just makes things so much easier when you know line by line, hey, this is going into this category, this is going into this category, this is accounting for this much of my payroll, my monthly budget, to just be able to know and understand each and every cent. Because again, most business owners don't know their financials at all, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, that leads to failure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, what other benefits are there for having separate checking account from like you have your business account and then you have your personal checking account? Like from my perspective, I can see that it saves people time because they don't have to go back and try to figure out what's what. It's very dedicated, but what are the other benefits that you see with that?
Yeah, just like you said, your CPAs at the end of the year when you're doing taxes are going to love you so much more if you have
Mhm.
your business accounts just organized and separated, as opposed to having to go through your annual bank statements on your personal side when your business expenses are coming out of theirs as well, and having to go line by line and highlighting different items and organizing this and organizing that. That's going to, first of all, you're going to spend more money by paying your accountant by spending much more time having to go through those line items by just separating those expenses that you could be doing when you have
Mhm.
separate bank accounts.
Okay,
Another
so
thing
it
that
saves money during tax season.
correct saves money and
Right.
time as well. And then, when you're going to either get a loan for your business, which most business owners like to do when they want to grow and scale their business, it's going to be extremely tough to get a business loan if you don't have a business bank account that can show in these financials. So that's a huge hurdle that
Hmm.
business owners would face. Same things with an
Okay.
exit strategy. If they want to sell their
Yeah.
business down the road, and they don't have any of those things separated into their business bank account, that's going to be extremely difficult as well for when they want to down the road, maybe sell their business, have a partner buy them out, whatever the case may be.
Okay. So in order to get a loan, they need to have a business bank account.
Correct. I mean, 99% of the time, yes, if they want to get a business loan, they need to have a business bank account. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. So just some very basic information about like somebody that's going to open up a new business bank account. What documents do they need? What what do they need? Like, this is the unknown, not for you because you're a business banker, but for the rest of the population, unless you've gone through it, we don't know.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, right. No one's taught any of this stuff, and you just kind of got to figure it out on your own, which is what I
Right.
love to be able to help to share my business owners that we help here. So, I guess I can't speak for other financial institutions, but I would say 99% of them, again, are at least going to require that you are registered with the state, Colorado, or whatever
Mm.
state that you're in, registered on the Secretary of State, in good standing. So you need that documentation showing that you are a licensed business within the state. Another one is a employer identification number. So basically a social security number for your business that you
Mhm.
have to get through the IRS. I mean, those take 10, 15 minutes to get set up. The state of
Oh,
Colorado.
really?
Oh
That's
yeah,
all it
yeah,
takes?
super easy. Yes, and there are many, what do I want to call them? Fraud types of websites out there, especially for the IRS, when you're registering to get your employer identification number out there. It
Mhm.
is free. It is not $100. I've seen many websites out there that try to say this is $100. Um, if you get to a page when you're doing that and it requires you to put in your credit card information, you're on the wrong page.
Now,
Um,
do you help your clients do that, or do they have to do that on their own?
I do not help them. I can kind of guide them through the process, but
Mhm.
that's where a business lawyer would come into place, right?
Or a
Help
business coach that handles that kind of stuff?
exactly. That knows
Like,
the
not
requirements.
me. Not
Yeah,
me.
that might be a little bit out of your wheelhouse, right? You're on the
Yeah,
other side of the business coach, not the
right.
financial administrative documentation side of things. But yeah,
Right.
if there is a business owner that's brand new to this, I'm always happy to help walk them through the process of doing
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
CPAs also know this in and out as well.
Okay.
So a lot of good resources out there for sure.
And
Mhm.
who else is a good resource for people when they want to open their accounts, but they haven't set up everything with the state? They need to set up their tax ID number, all those things. Like you can help, a CPA can help, a business coach that specializes in the structure of the business. Who
Mhm.
else?
Yeah, I would say a business lawyer, maybe another mentor that they have that they work with people in their networking groups, other entrepreneurs and
Mm,
business owners that they know,
mm,
who have actually done that and walked through the process. Maybe other family members that own their own business. But yeah, I would say there's tons of resources out there for people to, if you are a little skeptical of it, don't try to do it on your own.
mm-hmm.
I tell my business owners I'm a phone call away. I'm glad and happy to help them with that.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, lots of good resources out there.
Yeah, I like that you touched on reach out to the people in your networking groups. Like
Yeah,
you've got a network for a reason, utilize it.
exactly. You see them all the time, right? They're not going to point you in the wrong direction. They're going to help you out.
Yes.
Mhm.
So start there because I know like it can get pricey if you're going into more specialized fields and asking for help. I'm not going to call people out, but we all know what those are. So
Yep, yep.
Yeah, so start with the person in the room that has had a business for a long time and they've gone through the process. Like, I like that idea. That's a good jumping off point for people. It's less scary.
Exactly. And those people are very open to helping others out. Other entrepreneurs want to see entrepreneurs succeed, right? And so, when people feel like they're valued for getting asked these sort of questions, they will certainly jump in to help these kind of issues get solved.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Very good point. So, what else do you do as a business banker for business owners?
Yeah, so I help business owners. I kind of play, I like to call it, I play quarterback, right, for the business owners. I'm their direct point of contact for any questions that they have. Hey, Luke, I'm looking at buying this building. We want to grow, we want to expand. My customer size is growing. We want to buy this new location. We get on the phone. I ask them some questions. Hey, what do your revenues look like? Are you guys growing? What's your employee size? What size of building can you afford to get into? What makes sense here? Connecting them with the right people on my team. I've got a corporate lending department that we help underwrite the deals, that we really help make it make sense for the business owners. Because we're never going to steer them in the wrong direction of saying, hey, yeah, let's get into this building when you can't afford it. That's not what we're going to do. We want to make sure it makes sense. I connect with a lot of business owners, CPAs too, as well, because going back to what I mentioned earlier about if they want to sell their business in a couple of years, what's their exit strategy? And
Mhm.
they're trying to write everything off. That's another thing that I will discourage business owners of doing,
Sure.
to stop writing everything off. Because if they're writing everything off and they want to make it look like they're not a profitable business, which I do understand, pay less taxes, but in the long run, it doesn't make sense, because when it
Right.
shows that your business isn't profitable, A, no one's going to want to buy your business because it's not profitable. And B, you're not going to be able to get a loan as easy, because as financial institutions at credit unions, we like to see profitable businesses
Hmm. Hmm.
that can afford to pay us back on these big loans, right? So we want to make sure it makes sense to stop writing things off. And it's like, hey, if you were Missy, if you were coming to looking at buying my business, but I'm losing money every year, why would you want to pay money to buy a losing business, right?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so that's why I kind of try to steer the business owners, and hey, let's make it look the most profitable. So the business owner's like, dang, this business is doing great. Heck yeah, I want to buy them. Um,
See, now you're touching into one of my realms as a coach.
mhm,
I love strategy.
yeah,
So you're thinking about exit strategies, right? And that's still part of strategy. It's like, okay, let's think ahead. Yeah, right now it's nice to have the tax breaks, but if you want to sell the business at some point, you have to show a profit. If you don't care about selling the business, well, all right.
yep.
All
And
right.
And the dang IRS, they're going to come back at you though for everything. I know business owners that have been audited, that have been writing off all their personal expenses for the last years, and the IRS comes in and they says, "Hey, we want to do an audit. We know you haven't, we know your revenues are this well, but we know you haven't been paying much in taxes. We're going to go ahead and look through your
Mm,
personal stuff as well to see what personal expenses they've been commingling with the business expenses to use as write-offs. And again, you could be paying hefty, hefty penalties in those
wow.
as well. hmm So,
Okay.
yeah, I know it
So be
sounds right for.
careful with how much you're writing off.
hmm Yep, exactly. And that's why I like to just get with my business owners, CPAs, to make sure we're on the same page, and encouraging them in the right direction, not hearing two different
Mhm.
stories. hmm
Okay, that's good. Well, I'm glad you're there in the banking world to serve people and to help them and guide them because a lot of us are just flying blind and we figure it out as we go, like you said earlier.
Yeah, and that's
So,
that's so unfortunate. I was just gonna say, just that
yeah.
we're not taught any of this stuff growing up, right? We take all these, to my opinion, ridiculous classes in middle school and high school of learning about art from the 1500s, but then we're not taught, how to buy a house, how to build credit, how to do taxes, how to
Mhm.
buy a car even. We're not taught any of that stuff until you get smacked in the face in the real world, and then you got to figure it out.
Well,
So,
that's one of the reasons why we have the Wealthy Mind podcast is to educate the public on finances.
yeah.
So there's so much that we don't know. Like most people know how to spend money,
Oh yeah,
and
it's
that's
easy to
as
do.
far as it goes.
Yep. Hey, credit card here, credit card there. You're approved for this. Come and swipe this money that's not yours and then pay us 30% back in interest. That sounds great.
Right?
Yeah. It's can be a
Oh my
slippery
God.
slope. hmm Yeah,
It is
it's pretty
definitely,
yep, keeping up with the Jones, right? Trying to buy everything that everybody else has when we can't afford it. It's unfortunate stuff.
so I was going to ask you, what is one of the common struggles that you see amongst your business owners, your clients? And I'm thinking you already answered my question. They
Yeah, so
spend too much money.
they spend too much money. They've got a lot of debt, right? They got a lot of personal debt, which comes back to haunt them when they're coming to get a business loan because they are the personal guarantor on these business loans, which financial institutions do look at your personal credit, which a lot of people mistake, and they think that, oh, just because I have a business, you know, that's completely separate from my personal credit score, my personal credit history, which 9 times out of 10 is not the case. You can build business and corporate credit, but it takes a long time. So for businesses starting out, um, most financial institutions look at personal credit, and so it's tough to get a loan right off the bat. And unfortunately, those first 2 3 years is when you need the most help. But that is the time that is the toughest to get a business loan. And so I would say if people can, as business owners, if they're thinking about becoming a business owner or a new business owner, build your credit, get your credit back on pace. Save as much money as possible. Do not overspend on things that you think you might need for the business in a couple of years. Take it one day at a time because
Mhm.
unfortunately, 90% of businesses fail in the first couple of years, and that's due to overspending and not having the cash flow to pay your next month's rent and anticipating things that might not be there. They're thinking, oh, I need this new equipment that's going to cost this much money, when in reality, you're not ready to bite that off yet. And so,
Or a common problem that I see within the trades industry is a new business owner thinks, oh, I need to get the fleet of cars with the wrap on them, with the advertising wrap and everything. It's like,
mm,
no, yeah, that it builds brand awareness, but brand awareness at that level is not as important as
no,
getting out there and getting customers and getting the job done and building your reputation.
exactly.
So I've seen it, I've watched it. It's like, yeah, this is fun, it's flashy. Oh yeah, I need all this stuff. Well, actually, no, just go build your customer base
Right,
and do a
exactly.
good job.
The money will come. The brand and the advertising will come eventually. Right now,
Mhm.
you got to stash as much cash as possible because emergencies are going to come up for the business and things are going to come up. And if you don't have that cash on hand, that's going to be tough. The businesses that succeeded during COVID were the ones that had cash on hand, because nobody anticipated for that, right? And the ones that made it through were the ones that were thinking about the future and not overspending on things. I had a guy just the other day. He just quit his job. He's opening up his new business here in the next couple of weeks, and he's calling to get approved for a $90,000 new truck. And he didn't have any money saved up. He didn't have any income coming in, and it's just
Why?
things he had to get a new work truck, right? That was wrapped, that had all the bells and whistles, that was going to look good for his customers. When,
Does
I
it have
mean,
to be new? Can it be used? Like,
those are the questions I was asking him. Exactly. I was like, man, I don't know if this makes sense for you. Yeah. And so it's those kind of things, right? That business owners think from day one, oh, I own my own business. I'm going to go make $100,000 in the first couple of months and life's going to be great. When that's the tip of the iceberg, but they don't see below the surface of the water, right? All
It
the,
is not the reality.
not the reality at all.
Oh my
Mhm.
God, I forget the name of the person, but there's a billionaire story where he slept in his car because it was better to reinvest his money in the business instead of rent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've made those type of sacrifices myself. Like,
Mhm.
okay, let's not live in an extravagant place and just spend all of the extra money on building the business.
Right.
Do I
Exactly.
need to take the fancy trips? No. Like, let's just go hiking on the weekends, like,
Exactly. Keep it simple
yeah.
until you can live that lifestyle, right? That should
Hmm.
be the reward that business owners give themselves once they've made it to that level instead of trying to live that life right
Hmm.
now as a new business owner.
Yeah. I see
Yeah,
the spending
it's tough.
habits. Like, this
Mhm.
is one of the areas that I cover in my coaching is our spending habits. So
Mhm.
that creates financial stress is a big part of it, right? And your spending habits can either stress you out or they can bring you financial peace.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
okay, let's say I'm thinking of a client that I've worked with recently where he started his business and then it took off. And guess what? He still has the same issues with money and the same debt to income ratio, even though he's making a ton more per year. He
Mhm.
still has the same issue because he did not correct his spending habits. So, this is a misconception in our world where people are like, oh, if I just had $1 million, it would fix everything. Well, no, you
Mhm.
take you with you. And if you haven't corrected your bad spending habits or your spending habits, period, guess what? You're taking that to the next level and you're going to have the same issues. If you have $1 million in your bank account or 1,000, it does not matter.
Exactly. Yeah, the more people, majority of people, the more money they make, the more money they're going to go out and spend, right? They're not disciplined to set that money aside to take
Mhm.
X amount percentage of whatever they make and put it aside and don't even think about it. They think, oh yeah, I'm gonna make all this money. I made all this more money. Now I gotta go buy this new car. Now I gotta go buy this new house. Now I gotta go buy these new clothes. Now I
Mhm.
gotta go buy these new jewelry. And it's, yeah, then most people are better off making less money than they were before because they were more disciplined with it and don't spend as much money.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if you have read the book Profit First. It's a great book
Mm-mm.
by
No, I haven't.
Michalowicz. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name, but it's basically he's a business success coach that teaches business owners to have different buckets in their business bank account, which is amazing, amazing idea because you have your business bank account that has the profit bucket, the expenses bucket, maybe the payroll bucket, the
Mhm.
taxes bucket. That way you know that even if you do spend X amount of dollars, you're still putting money aside as a profit for the business. And I try to encourage my business owners to do the exact same things. Have the different
Mm.
buckets so you know that you're actually paying yourself and that there are profits coming into the business and you pay yourself first, right? You figure out a way to get those other expenses paid for, those other utilities, bills, whatever. But you know, at the end of the month, you're paying yourself first instead of just trying to make it by and pay the bills and keep the lights on, which I think is a great concept for business owners.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Mhm.
let's get one last piece of advice out to the audience so we can wrap up this amazing, informative interview.
Yes.
So, what is one piece of advice we haven't talked about that people need that they can't live without from your perspective as a business banker?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say if don't hmm, oh, can we pause that for a second? I'm sorry.
No,
No? Okay,
no,
okay.
keep going, keep going. What's the first thing that
Um,
comes to you? First thing that comes.
I would just say just like we talked about the spending or thinking things that you need more things. I mean, that kills businesses. It's truly crazy that
Mm.
people think that when they start a business that they have to have these glamorous things and show off all of this new equipment, these new fancy vehicles, and when that's not the case at all. It's the people who save their money, put their heads down, aren't glamorous, aren't flashy, aren't buying all these new things, that those are the businesses that succeed. And again, those are things that we're just not taught in life. And so as new business owners, they need to live below their means. And it's
Okay.
just it's tough. It's tough. And for potential new entrepreneurs, I tell people, if you're going to look at either buying or starting a new business, look at those dirty businesses that people don't want to do, right? Turn
Mm.
those turn those blue collared, hardworking businesses into the same exact services, but in a more professional, well managed way. Find those businesses that don't have all these overhead expenses, that you don't
Mhm.
have to pay rent for a storefront, brick and mortar location. Um, just find these businesses that people just will pay for, that don't want to do, that are nitty gritty, but there's money to be made there. And
Yeah.
I think if business owners can look at those kind of businesses, of the dirty businesses, those are very successful. Simple, easy to understand. You know what you're doing, you know what your employees are doing. Those are the businesses that succeed, that don't have all these huge overhead costs of
Okay.
rent every month. I really like those businesses. Those are ones that we see
Okay.
very successful.
That's cool. All right. Very good information. So, in short, you want them to stop spending less money because you don't want their spending habits to kill their business, correct?
Yep.
And then you want them to get creative if they're going to buy a business or start a new business, get creative, find something that doesn't have as much overhead. So, would you recommend that they talk to a business broker or a franchise broker?
Yeah, either or. A business broker would be great. A franchise broker would be great, depending on the type of franchise or type of business that they would be interested in doing. Yeah, absolutely. Those are two great resources. There's
Cool.
websites out there too that have those businesses for sale that are great. Um, so yeah, those would be great resources for aspiring entrepreneurs.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, Luke, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to have you back for your second interview. We're going to talk about your journey as a business owner.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time, Misty. Thank you for the great questions, great conversation that we had. Really looking forward to staying in touch. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and appreciate it, and feel honored to be on the podcast with you guys.
Cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, Misty. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.